Grew up in mostly suburban Philadelphia, though we were born in Philadelphia, but moved to the southwestern suburbs by the airport in Delaware County. So I was a little slow in my development, I guess, in athletics, but still came from an athletic-minded family. What's the best way to put it? We tried, and we Falcones, we always say we're game for anything. We will compete with anything, in anything, and we may not be the prettiest or the technically perfect, but we will give our heart, and we will most times beat your ass. So, pardon the French there, but for all the Falcones out there, we are competitive. We grew up in a very athletic family. You know, we cried when the Eagles lost in 1980, excited when the Sixers won in 1983, but we also knew the game, you know, and I think that's the one thing. My sister and I are very, very close, as well as my brother is, but I think the fact that my sister and I are both gay, but she's a fantastic athlete, but we talk about coaching. We talk about from a coaching aspect. So even though I may not have been able to play things like softball or football or anything that came out that probably deserved a little bit more of somebody who may have gone through their puberty a little sooner, I still understood the game. So I played soccer, I golfed, and I was a pretty good bowler at the time. Softball came mostly through a school after like a summer program. I like playing, I could pitch real well, so that's really what I've done for the past 30 years in our gay softball league down here as well.
So you grew up in a Catholic family?
Catholic family to the core. Catholic school from the age of 6 through the age of 40. I went to Catholic college, Catholic graduate school. I finished my certification to teach high school at a Catholic school, Villanova University, and I worked at St. Thomas Aquinas High School down here from 1994 to 2008.
And how about your coming out? How old were you?
Well, when I first moved down here, so back in 1994, I'd never been with a guy, but I met someone actually at the high school, teacher, and we became best friends and came out together and moved in together, and you know, and here we are 31 years later, and he's still my best friend. It was a great school, and I think the people there were supportive. I mean, they knew we were gay or whatever, and they didn't care, and the teachers didn't, you know, the faculty didn't care, and the administration, by and large, did not really care.
So were you involved in athletics in high school or college?
Very limited, intramurals and that type of thing. I didn't really sow my oats, I would say, athletically, until I really came down here and got involved with the league. A guy by the name of Dave Liddy, he said to me, "Do you play softball?" And we were at Cathode Ray. I said, "Yeah, I do." And he asked me to come on board, and I mean, you know, we did well. I all of a sudden took a trip to Birmingham, Alabama. I never thought, you know, it was like all of a sudden there was this community, but we formed it. It was the South Florida Softball League, which eventually became the South Florida Amateur Athletic Alliance, where we are today. Going on 30 years. We just commemorated our 30th anniversary back in July. It's been a fantastic experience. Really got emotional just thinking about the 30 years, Steve. And I say that because one of the key figures in all of softball, in all gay softball, is a gentleman by the name of Chuck Dima. He is considered technically, and this is not a reference to his Italian heritage, but he's considered the godfather of gay softball. He's from New York. And Chuck came down here and lived in Hollywood until he passed back in 2010. But Chuck was like a father to me in many ways, like a father. But his philosophy is what drove me.
What was that?
Very simple. He used to say, "Paulie," aside from saying, "Paulie, you're crazy, but you're good crazy." And because he knows that if he needed something done, I would do it. If we needed to build the Hall of Fame at the pub, we built it. Or if we needed to do X, Y, and Z, it was done. In 2006, he pushed me to be the chair of the Gay Softball World Series that we held down here at that time. But he said, "Paulie, there should always be a place for a gay kid to play softball." And he meant that from a no harassment, no any sort of bigotry or discrimination on the basis of their sexual orientation. And that always drove me. It was in that collective spirit. I'm more conservative-minded than I think I would say. Even at parties, I'm not afraid to cross lines. But yes, I'm a little bit more on the conservative side of things, and I have no bones about it. I'm proud of. Yeah.
How does it affect your relationships with people on the league?
Well, I got. Here's the funny part. I think most people knew when I was really involved with the league in the initial parts. I don't think, and that was one of the things that Dave and I would argue over. Dave Liddy is about as liberal as they get. And, we were at a time when people could argue and discuss. And even if we disagreed, there was never this, divide. And I find it ridiculous. I can't stand it, And it's like my sister's a liberal, I mean, we don't necessarily talk politics or whatever the case is, and I get where it stems from. I'm not thrilled with where it is. I'm hoping that it gets back together, but we could discuss things. And I think sometimes you find solutions in the weeds that people talk about. But lately, it's like we haven't been able to talk about things. I was so concerned at Cathode Ray when it was here. They used to have their beer blast on Sundays and Mondays or whatever, and used to be down in a well. And there were steps leading to the street on Las Olas, and then you go inside. I remember running up those steps, turning the corner real quick so that parents wouldn't see me drive by and say, oh, he's going into a gay bar. And I see that perspective. And the fear of HIV at the time was very real, and all of the prophylactics that are now out, both even with HIV or to stop the spread of it, is like an incredible reality. But back in the 90s, on the post-AIDS scare, people were. I was looking for a family in a way, I mean. It was scary coming out, and it was scary even like within the community as well. What kind of world am I entering? Because I had never been out. I found people that thought like me, understood, even the concepts of competition, even the concepts that you learn from being a team player or whatever the case is. That's what I found is the most interesting. My father, I never really came out, though he walked my sister down the aisle at my sister's wedding to a woman. I brought a friend of mine, Alejandro, up to the wedding. And my father was at a time when he was having some problems with his bowels or whatever the case is, and we had to wound up changing him in the day of the funeral. And Alejandro wound up doing it and helping him with it. And he said, you need a good friend like him. And that was my father's complicit way of saying, I know, Paul.
Did you lose people to HIV, to AIDS?
A few. I remember Italo, the guy who cut my hair. I remember losing him, the first person that I knew personally. But I didn't know the community. And sometimes a lot of people were so still stigmatized by it that you didn't even know that they were sick. But it was also at a time when the transition to livability, I guess my boundaries were, with the league. So, but I still worked, 80 hours at school. I still had my life.
Your lifestyle was somewhat different than many of the other people.
Yes, very much so. The Catholic in me, my Catholicism is a blessing in that regard. It's not the shielding one. It's not the, judgment, damnation, the, last judgment or whatever. It is more of like a sense of they're God's children, and the concept that every individual, and my mother raised us in this way, every individual is worth your respect regardless. It's the old lady that you help with her packages or that type of thing. What's interesting is I was talking to Patrick Nicholas, who is the one who really kind of organized the whole thing, and I didn't know all the backstories behind it. I didn't know that there were death threats. I didn't know that I didn't know that the Marlins, they suffered some backlash with it all. But he said every stadium, with the exception of one in Dallas, has a gay day now. Well, my one quick story with my father and my brother. We went. The Phillies always hold games over the July 4th weekend, and after the games they have fireworks. But what they do is they let you on the field, and you could go on the field and you could watch the fireworks from the field. And I was just running around, I was jumping up against the wall. I don't know how old I was, maybe 12, 13. My father came and almost ripped my arm out of my socket because I was like, he couldn't find me, and that panic, and it was like that thing. So then when I got to play at Marlin Stadium and when I got to see my image on a Jumbotron, I couldn't tell you, it was like just every kid wants to play in a stadium. If you love sports, you just want that. And then it was like I told you, Jim Stewart hit that ball. Jim Stewart was one of the best players I have ever been around. Jimmy knows the game, but unfortunately, I've never been built like him. And he was solid back in his heyday. And he came up, and I thought I threw a good pitch, and he hit the living crap out of the ball, and it went over. And I joke around today, it's still in orbit. It just like sometimes you go, okay, that ball, well, that might be caught. That ball, nobody thought, maybe it might be caught by the people that are living down there at the time, Marlin Stadium, in the lot, because it wasn't going to be caught by anybody in that stadium. That first year with the World Series, going to the World Series, it was like a big deal. I got to play with my sister because she played in Philadelphia. She played for a team called Moxie, and they played back in 98, 99, they qualified, and I qualified in 98, 99. And those first two World Series, Atlanta and Kansas City, 88, 98, 99, were just very special. Now I'm looking at it going, amazing. I mean, we had the World Series here in 2006. We had the best, they have a talent show, and they have an auction to raise money for your local charities. And that's the way they try to give, the national organization gives back. And we raised 23,000, which is 14,000 more than anyone. Nowadays they do it right, whatever. We had the Hard Rock Live, had the best show possible for them. I have met many great people at the Gay Softball World Series, and nobody really remembers who wins and who loses. But they will remember the good times that they had. You still have friendships. They're going back 25 years, 30 years with these people. I get worked up because I'm proud of, because I know I honestly played a part in that. I played a part in my heart and soul. I played a part in my convictions towards what I saw and how I saw things moving on and trying. I may not have been right all the time, but there was a good purpose intended for that. I've actually thought about becoming a priest. There are things that I have asked myself, I'd make a good priest.
How long did you stay active in the league?
For the first, up until like 2015, 2016. And then I had done the World Series. I had shepherded our flock, I guess, for another 4 years as chairperson. I left it in very good, capable hands. I just needed a break, and I regret it. I regret it because they always have been a family. And I realized that eventually coming back, I guess I have a different perspective because I got to see it 8 years afterwards. And I remember what it was like to go back onto the field when they had opening day and looking at and understanding that there's still 500 people that come in that and play. And there's a place for a gay kid to play ball. Makes me happy, it really does. Like I said, I can rest my head at night knowing I made this world a better place, either through the kids that I've taught at that school and they looked up to me and everything else, or the people in this league. And even whether they hated my guts or not, I know that I always had a lot of integrity, especially when it came to ratings and all that stuff. I did my best to do what was right. If I left this earth tomorrow, I'm a happy person because I've left my mark on it. I've made the world better. And part of that is that if I get cremated, which, we have plots at home up in Philadelphia, but I want my ashes spread over two things. I taught high school for 14 years over at St. Thomas Aquinas, and athletic, very, very athletic, one of the top 5 athletic programs in the country for high schools. Fantastic thing. My kids loved me. They knew I was gay. They didn't give a shit. They were just the best kids in the whole world. but I want my ashes also spread over Mills Pond Park, because my life and what I've done is through teaching and through founding the league and helping it grow, and proud of it, you know? So I get emotional, Italian, so you got to suck that up and just work with it.
Oh, that doesn't bother
You can weigh out I don't care, you know. I'm very in touch with my emotions, and I don't care. I'm proud. I really am proud.